That tree before you, the pine tree there, is going to be pruned here for beauty. This is our little canoeing pond. This is a tree that I look at all the time, and it's one I really like. And I would love to develop this thing into essentially a huge bonsai tree. So this is our starting point. It may not necessarily look better after this first prune, but it's going to be with the mind for years down the line and how this tree is going to eventually look like. It's growing alongside a beautiful temple or something. A really, really manicured, sort of perfect cloud pruned pine tree. So here's a closer look at the tree that I looked at from across the pond. I'm kind of imagining working on this tree from the inside out. You know, some of the bigger structural cuts today, leave the rest alone and work my way out to the tips of the tree over the years. What's the structural issue that I see on this tree? It's not a structural issue for the stability of the tree. It's for the aesthetics of the tree. See this? Up, this is a vertical guy. This is going to try to become another stem of this tree. It's not really the design I'm going for. It's not the look I'm going for. To have a multiple stem tree. I love single stem pine trees. And this just being kind of a special tree near my home, I thought, why not put a little extra pizzazz into it? This is a small tree, guys. This isn't a big one. This is gonna be nice. See this one here? Also pretty somewhat vertical. Maybe I'll leave that one and take this one. That one kind of scoots up through a little more. So that's what I'm thinking about. And then when I get to the very top, I might give it a little haircut, a bowl cut, to give it that defined apex from at least from one angle. All right, so you see this right here? You see how that's like really trying to become its own tree, its own stem? That's the branch I was pointing out from down below. There's kind of another one right there. You know, it's no big deal. That one, the second one, I might be able to take the tip off of it and let it be more of a branch shape. This one here, probably have to take the whole thing off at this stage in the game, just to help it not get too excited about becoming its own tree. In the middle here, we have multiple tops, sorta. Normally, I might consider reducing one of these quite a bit, or really subordinating them, but really they have a pretty decent domed shape from afar. And also, over time, sometimes, you know, a lot of what I'm going to be doing over the years is snipping these small tips back. And when I do that, I may get some dieback in some of these bigger stuff as it reacts to the pruning. I'm hoping not, but if I do, then I'll have a lot of thickness in here to still be able to give it the look, and give me options for how I can build this out. And from afar, you can't tell that this is multiple tops, really. So I'm gonna leave those, and then I'm gonna, underneath here, I think I'm gonna try to thin this out, at least on the side facing the pond where I see it from. And that's gonna give me a layer. It's gonna give me like a domed apex, and then an open layer, and then the next layer of foliage. And that's gonna start to give me the look of the tree being sort of made out of clouds, I hope. So I'm gonna go up a little higher, but I just wanted to point out some stuff. Alright, so my travels within that tree brought me back to the ground because I was chasing that, the vertical stem that used to be up here. I was chasing that on its way down and cutting it piece by piece. So I wound up close to the ground, so I thought I'd come back and take another look. So I tried to shape the top somewhat. It's my first reaction is it's not looking good. This is not what I was trying to do. So I think that really what happened was when I was breaking off those longest points off the top there, now the second tallest point is still sticking up. So I may try and get back up there and take less than the full point out of there. But actually I should wait till summer and do that with the candles. So yeah, so when the way a pine tree grows is it has these really bright green candles that come straight up off of the end of each twig. So those, before they turn woody, before they lignify, I think I can be more successful kind of shaping the whole tree. Again, kind of similar to pruning a shrub or trimming a hedge. But yeah, this is where we stand. I think what I want to do, I've started to open up, like, differentiate the apex of the tree from the rest of the tree in terms of making it look like it has different clouds to it. I think what I'm going to do is try and take a little bit more off right there to start to create that effect a little bit more, and then I think I'm going to go right back up to the top and try and nip some of those really, maybe just that one on the left, the lefternmost pip there. All right, let's see how this goes. All right, have a look at this little tree. This tree I bought for $25. It's a white pine. The first thing that I did when I bought it, before I even left the nursery, I cut it right there with a handsaw. Why? Because I wanted to make this dead top. This is all, it's fake. I cut it, I peeled it, and then I carved the wood to taper down so it wasn't a totally blank stub. And now this is the top right here. So as we zoom out, I've been doing this one for 2 years. So yeah, it's not as dense as it could be, but it had a lot of nice candles on it. So what I really wanted to show you out of this little segment is this is the new growth here. Some of these, you can see the white mark right here. That's where I broke off that candle. So the candles are like, they're obvious once you look for them, but if you don't know about them, kind of mysterious. So here's kind of, see, these are overdeveloped. I already did that. I've missed my window for doing candle pruning at this point in the year. I've already done it on this tree. I left most of the ones down low alone so that they could grow fully. And the ones at the top of the tree, I pretty much shortened them down to be the same length as the ones that were on the bottom, because I want to balance the energy of the tree. So, if I could get you a better shot of this tree, it's a little bit more nice, but I wanted to show you the candles mostly, and just show you continuously. I just wanted to show you like the idea of this is a little bit, I'd like this to be more dense. I want this to be more full over time, but actually shortening the candles helps thicken up the look of the tree. You probably think this is very ugly if you watch it right now, but someday. This tree here is the one that I've been trying to create into a cloud prune, or a large bonsai tree, you might say. It's a white pine by the pond. Now, I've been looking at it for a few days since I climbed it, and I was trying to just only prune the side facing towards the pond because that's my view of the tree when I'm out canoeing. But guess what? You can't get the effect, I don't think, until I go off to the other side as well. So I'm thinking I'm going to make another couple cuts up on the left side of the tree and try to get the top of the tree really formed into a into like an apex of the tree, and then pretty much leave it alone for the rest of the year. All right, bye. How about that? Those are climbing shoes. Well, rock climbing shoes. When I first started tree climbing, I had already done some rock climbing before, and not a lot really, but it was the only real climbing I'd done. And the people I was working with, this guy named Alex, he was like, rock climbing, that's the thing where you like grip the stone and then you fall and the rope catches you. He's like, yeah, I don't like that. They thought it was kind of nuts to some degree, which I don't know. They also are very scared of ladders. A lot of arborists are scared of ladders for good reason. But anyway, I've been curious about using climbing shoes while I'm in a tree. Why not, you know? You can only Google so much stuff. Eventually you have to find out for yourself. So that's what we're gonna do now. So part of the thing that inspired me to try having climbing shoes on, rock climbing shoes, is this type of stuff right here. This is from my boot. Last time I climbed the tree, inadvertently putting some damage on the bark. Just as I'm standing somewhere, especially like right here. That's just from my boot. You know, it's not a terrible amount of damage. It really isn't. See that one down lower? But like your boot, you know, I don't know. The boot I was wearing, it was kind of hard on the tree. I'm not psyched about that. I'd like to be really light on the tree, especially if I'm doing something like a nice art project, like a bonsai tree. You know, if I'm saving the tree's life, that's one thing. I'll wear whatever boots I need to wear, I guess. Or if I'm killing a tree, doesn't matter so much. I just want to protect my feet. But you know, right here, I'm just sort of slowly, mindfully climbing this tree, trying to get a art project out of it, and trying to make as little of an impact on the tree as possible to help it survive and help it thrive during the process. So I'm thinking about trying to get a climbing shoe to it and see how the rubber treats the wood here. There it is, you know. It feels pretty good. And it can fit in a crotch right here. See, there's another older one right above my shoe there. That's a mark on the bark from last time I did it. But yeah, you see, I can fit my toe right in that crotch so that there's no lateral movement side to side with my foot. And it's that sliding that really scuffs up the bark. So there's none there, you know, because I can get my toe in there. And see, my other shoe is like twice as wide. My other boot I was wearing before, twice as wide. So it's impacting. It's not impacting here. It's impacting here and here. And so there's less surface area touching the tree. And so when I shift, it always slides. We're figuring this out. I'm also open to the idea that it's not any better, you know, because I just made this scuff right here. Oops, behind my rope. I just made this scuff right here. So it may not be any better. I just wanted to find out. So I went back up there and I made a few cuts up in that area, and I cannot quite see what I'm looking to see yet. I think we're getting closer, but I want a separate cloud of foliage up at the top and then separate clouds lower down as well. So this area here is a little too connected. So here we are. Over my shoulder there is the tree that I've been trying to deal with. It's coming along, but I also, it doesn't look perfect yet. I knew it wouldn't, and I'm excited to keep going on it, kind of slow and steady. It's early in the morning today. It's a bunch of weeks later. Why? Why bother doing all this to make a tree look a certain way when the tree's like perfectly healthy? Well, I can tell you why. It's because, have you ever been to one of those like condo places where you drive down these winding roads and every house looks almost the same and every front yard looks almost the same, and they all have this like short grass on the lawn, and they all have shrubs in front, mulch all around the shrubs, and the shrubs are really tightly sheared. I used to work for Limb Walker Tree Service. Underneath this it says Limb Walker Tree Service. That's my secret. That's why I put the patch there. I didn't want to give him free advertising all the time while I was working for someone else. Anyways, I used to work there for 3 years, and 3 years or so. And every summer we would shear hedges. We would shear hedges like there's no tomorrow. It was mostly done in July, but we did it all throughout the summer and into the fall. And boy, if you like holding a heavy object all day and listening to a loud sound all day and then raking a lot, then you're going to love shearing hedges. But at the end of the day, here's what always got to me most about that. At the end of the day, like, it looks cleaner. It's like mowing the grass. You have long grass, you mow it, it looks clean after that. With a hedge that's not sheared yet, you have this hairy, fuzzy look to it. And then when you're done, it's gone. It's tight again. It looks like it's supposed to look. But I think people go for that. Here's why I think people do that. I think people go for it because it looks like time is standing still. It looks like that tree or that shrub is trapped in this globe shape. It's trapped in that shape because it's immature. It's constantly being kept at an immature growth stage, an immature height, an unnaturally dense amount of foliage, like it's tiny baby young shrub. And this takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of fossil fuel. It takes a lot of sweat. And at the end of the day, I don't like the way it looks. Have you ever noticed you drive around one of those places? One of those condo places? Some of you probably live in there. And every place looks the same, and they're all these tightly sheared hedges all over the place. And you just feel like it's sucking your soul out of your face. It doesn't feel good to be there for some reason. And I've experienced this. Everyone who I've talked to pretty much experiences it the same way. It's like there's no soul here. There's no character here. Now, I want to propose this idea as an alternative. I know it doesn't look like stunning right now, but all right. So we're living. So that environment, that built environment of the condo place, it's densely populated. You do want it to look nice. You want it to look clean and taken care of. But what if we could do some hand sniffing? What if we could create some actual shapes? And rather than celebrating this static time frame, rather than celebrating this sort of false idea of like a shrub being forever young, could we celebrate a mature tree? And we can keep it tidy. We can keep it cared for. We can keep it looking sharp and looking unique, but celebrating its mature life stage rather than celebrating its immature life stage. To me, that is what will look timeless. It's not going to look artificially like held on, like you're holding on to the reins of time and just running around like a bucking bronco under you. It's going to look like you're accepting time. It's going to look like you're accepting maturity. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of a bonsai tree. It's a celebration of impermanence. how you're embracing this beautiful stage of a tree where it has survived many storms, it has survived being in maybe a less ideal place like the top of a mountain, or it's survived heavy winds, and this is what's left of the tree, and it's not this struggle. You're not celebrating the struggle the tree has had, you're celebrating the fact that it's overcome that struggle. It's a totally different mindset of an aesthetic. And I did all this with just hand tools and a rope. Snip, snip. So I'm not going to say I have this figured out. I'm exploring. I'm trying to learn. Because no one does this in the United States anyway that I know of. I'm trying to learn it for myself based on some principles that I've learned about. Trying to reapply them in different ways. All right, that's my rant. Okay, I'm aware that this is probably kind of hard to see, but I want to show you this anyway, the shape. S-curve. A very subtle S-curve. Where now this bottom layer of this pine tree, this is a very mature, well, not terribly mature, but this is a mature pine tree where some of these lower limbs have begun to stretch out. They elongate enough to where they get heavy enough to bow down. And then they scoot back up at the end where they're looking for light. I really want limbs like that. That is, to me, the pinnacle of like a mature, beautiful pine tree limb. And I think a lot of times we hammer on the lower limbs of trees because they're easy to reach, they're easy to cut, and it makes the tree look clean when they're gone. And also we're walking around, we want to get them out of the way for our mowers and stuff, but you know, you got that. Only thing that can produce that is time. So that's kind of the beauty of it. You got to leave that limb, and I think that this could be accelerated by cutting some of the side branches off this section of a limb. Actually, I wouldn't even go out that far because that would really be lion-tailing the limb. Lion-tailing, and if you're an arborist, if you're lion-tailing it, it's making your branch structure look kind of like an arm. It's like or a lion tail. It's a long branch with only foliage on the very end that catches a lot of wind in a really bad way, and it'll probably break off. It'll probably break off. It catches wind, it catches snow around here. Get a ton of snow, but yeah, so I wouldn't maybe go all the way out. Maybe let the tree do some of its own pruning out there, but take some of the limbs off, the side limbs off of the first half of the branch, and just see if that slowly helps encourage it to grow outwards. And then as that weight builds up on the outer edge, if it could bow down and curl up just like that. And now, I don't know, again, this is all trying to learn this, trying to observe what I see and mimic it, and only by doing it am I really starting to learn. I wouldn't charge anyone for this service yet at this point, you know? I wouldn't offer it as something I do and then charge them. This one is an actual bonsai tree because the others were cloud pruned because they're in the soil. This is in a pot. It's in a box right now, but it's learning to live in a pot. This is another white pine, believe it or not. This is a little sapling that I found. I think I've had this one in the pot This is almost 2 years. So yeah, it's had some candle pruning on it. It's had a few things, but the overall shape is just sort of, yeah, it doesn't have the straight trunk of a regular tall pine tree. It doesn't have the long needles, actually, even. It kind of got defoliated at one point. It's got character. It's different.